just first of all, thank you to everyone who's joined us and who has watched all of our videos with Peggy this month, and a big thank you to Peggy as well. I know that these videos are all very helpful, and I know I've learned a lot from them, so hopefully everyone else has. So without any further pauses, here you are, Peggy, go ahead.
Hello, everybody. I am super excited to be here. I've got my water. I have a little bit of hot tea left. I have been drinking caffeine all day, so I would be here just for you guys. So I'm super excited to be here. We had a bunch of folks registered, so we're hoping to see even more. But with the folks that we have right now, we are super, super excited. Welcome to our crazy fun Ask Me Anything. This is our way of saying we can keep coming up with content for you, and we love that. But at some point, there's burning questions that you have, and we may not get around to those. And so we're bringing you 60 minutes of an opportunity to ask your burning questions. So we've got the chat fired up, and as need be, we will bring you on audio if that makes a good sense. Our agenda, what are we going to do today? So it's what I call basically free flowing. That is to say that we are going to have a few quiz questions just to see what you were thinking, what's on your mind from the first 3 webinars. And then we're going to just open up the lines, as they say, for your questions. So the only caveat I'll have for your questions is I am not a dental hygienist. So if there are questions related to the profession, you're in the wrong webinar. And I'm not great at cooking, so cooking questions would not be excellent. But let's stick with member engagement, volunteerism, communications, onboarding, operations for chapters. Let's stick with the questions around association or cycling. I'm happy to do some to answer some questions about cycling. So anyway, we're going to be asking you to get your questions ready. So be thinking about that. Before we kick off with the questions, and actually to give you a little bit of opportunity to pull your questions together, I understand that we have now closed the scavenger hunt, which was an opportunity to sort of get inside and really take a look at the new volunteer portal. And my understanding is that we've got about 26 folks who did a pretty daggum good job. And, Kelsey, I want to hear more. Tell us a little bit more about the scavenger hunt.
All right. So as all of our state leaders know from our announcements, we have opened a volunteer leaders portal just so that all the volunteers can get any resources that they need. So if you have any questions on that, definitely reach out to me. Everyone should have my email address, but it's kelseyc@adha.net if you need it, and I'll put it in the chat. But so if you have any questions about the Volunteer Leader Resource Center or any state resources, I'm happy to help. But we did have our winners that were decided. So we have 10 people who will be getting the FIGS gift card. So FIGS is a great new different scrub that everyone can wear. So let me just get this all in presenter. All right, so I think, can everyone, it looks like it went backwards. Let me go back. All right, so here are our 10 winners. So FIGS scrubs are supposed to be really comfortable, they're stylish, so we're really excited to be able to provide this for these 10 people. So next week, I will be contacting everyone and just making sure I have the correct email addresses and getting all that out to everyone. So if you have any questions or anything, reach out to me. But as you see, we did get 2 perfect scores, so congratulations.
And one of them's from my home state. I totally love that. I'm not sure how to say your name, but congratulations from being from Maryland.
And then if you have any questions, reach out to me, and thank you to everyone who participated. And like I said, if you have any questions about the resource portal, I'm more than happy to help. But I know everyone's anxious to get Peggy's information, so that will be all from me tonight. Thank you.
Well, I kind of think that any time that you can start with a prize giveaway, it's pretty awesome. So kudos for getting us started that way. So I'm going to bring up a couple of polls, okay? And now I was going to say there's no harm if you don't know the answers, but there might be a benefit if you do know them, if you do know the answer. Yes, I just saw the 3 from Texas. Yeah, Texas got bragging rights. That's all I can say. Texas got bragging rights for this. All right. Poll question number 1. Which of these is the common reason for not renewing that we can impact? So which of these is the common reason for not renewing that we can impact? Now, this comes from our very first webinar, Renewing is Easier Than Selling. And part of what we're really super interested in these polls is just finding out what's stuck. So I've got a couple of folks coming in. Keep them going, keep them coming. And all righty. Oh, I love the answers coming up. So I can tell, Kelsey, that a number of people were paying attention, as they say. Very good. So, your choices are, keep them coming. The choices are lack of urgency, lack of clarity, lack of time, lack of resources, A and B, which would be lack of urgency, lack of clarity, A and D, which would be lack of urgency, lack of resources, or all of the above. All right, I'm going to give another 5, 4, 3. Anybody else? 2, 1. Awesome. Guess what we've got? We have got 5 people who picked A plus B. That is exactly right. We said it's a lack of urgency and a lack of clarity. So basically, it manifests itself as procrastination. And sometimes, particularly in the year of COVID, when people joined, they joined for the urgency. We have to remind them that that urgency still exists. But as we found out, most of the time it is clarity. So those are 2 things that we can absolutely take care of. All right. So in the chat, if you were one of the folks that picked answer E for A and B, go ahead and tell us who you are. So in the chat, who picked that? All right. Poll number 2. Of course, there's one from Texas. I love that. Linda, where are you from? Go ahead, put that in there. All right. Laura, another Marylander. Perfect. And of course, the Texas. I'm loving Texas today. Of course, my home is Maryland. All right. Let's launch the polling. To get through the communications clutter, which rule is worth following? Email is king, mobile is king, social networks are king, content is king, image, pictures, videos are king. Now, this comes from webinar number 2, which was our first recorded one. And anyone hear me? So I'm kind of curious to see what people say about this one. You've got a lot of good options there. A lot of good options. So keep them coming. Oh, you guys are waking up. We've got the first time where the fingers are really warming up, and we've got a lot of folks coming in. So let me give it just a few more. Okay. So basically you got 5 very good options, actually. Very good options. It's almost like you couldn't go wrong. However, there was one that we talked about. So let me give us a 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. End the polling and share the results. 6 of you were right. Content is king. Now, I personally like all of the options. The thing is that content and king is what gives us the opportunity to email, to use the mobile devices, to run on the social media networks, or how we can use images, videos, and pictures. So email is in front. They're all top of their heap. So email is a top rank. 74% said that they prefer email for communications around with business or their membership organizations, right? Interestingly enough, mobile is king for a fair number of people. In fact, 85% of smartphone users said they prefer messages to calls. 29% don't check their voicemail messages at all. 90% of people open text messages within a few minutes. Okay. And meanwhile, the big issue, even though email is preferred for the kind of communications we're sort of doing, 74% of the people, 55% said they ignore marketing emails altogether. That's why content is king, right? Now, I do think social networks is something we've got to do. A number of you are doing some amazing work in social networks because, you know, Facebook alone has close to 2.8 billion monthly users. What I think is real interesting is that WhatsApp has 2 billion monthly users and Facebook Messenger has about 1.3 billion. And some people are saying that those message platforms are going to eclipse email at some point. So the last one I want to mention is, yes, indeed, absolutely. Images pull in more than text. So a little bit of some little intel to share with you is that 65% of people are visual learners, right? 90% of the information that comes into this brain here is visual. And so visual aids make a huge difference. Articles with images get 94% more views. And actually one study showed, I was amazed at this. I got to make sure I read this absolutely right. A video on the landing page increased conversions by 86%. 86%. Now, don't forget, infographics and memes and all those things. But at the end of the day, guys, what we wanted you to do was to really focus on content. So the 6 people who said content is king, go ahead, put that please into chat. Let's see who was listening. This is a little bit of a trick question, but I'm glad to see that 6 folks were able to get that. All right. I am going to go to poll number 3. Now, we had 3 content webinars for you, so therefore I have 1, 2, 3 polls. Here's your third poll. This one is the hint for helping people with connections can be summed up by which of these? Now, this was your third one, and we talked about this whole idea of helping people make connections. We said, you know, people join for access and connections, and we had talked about access earlier. We talked about onboarding in a more deep way. But this time we went a little bit more into that conversation around onboarding and focused on how we could do connections. So the question is, do you think think of 3 resources, people, or education. Think of 3 resources, people, or activities. Maybe it's orient, onboard, and open the doors. Maybe it's connecting people to other members. Now, this was the most recent of the 3, and I don't know if everybody's had a chance to get up there and look at it, but maybe, just maybe, if you don't know the answer here, it will push you to go up and listen to it. So the idea here is one of these answers is right, and it sums up kind of a mantra for us around this idea of, well, how do we help people connect? So this is slower. So I'll tell you what, even if you don't think you know the answer, what does your gut tell you? What does your gut tell you? Yeah, now we got some gut choices. I love this because sometimes our gut is 100% right. You know, we just don't know, right? Until you put it in there, and then I can tell you which one is the mantra to follow. But if you think about it, all 4 are kind of useful, right? All 4 are kind of ways of thinking about creating connections as opposed to this idea of the steady diet of throwing stuff at people to read. So very good. All right. So people have caught up with I love this. So connecting to members, think 3 resources, people, activities, think 3 resources, people, education, orient, onboard, open. Okay. I'm going to count down from 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. All righty. end the polling. And are you guys ready? Who's ready? Woo! So I totally love, I almost want to change my answer because I love orient, onboard, and open. However, the mantra I really want you to live by is think three: resources, people, activities. And what we talk about in that webinar, so please take a look at it. What we talk about that in that webinar is that you want to find out somebody's interest, and then you want to take that interest, and with that knowledge, you want to make sure you connect them. It's the power of three. Connect them to three different things, something that's tangible that they can read or look at or download, a person who will make the human connection, and an activity, something that gets them actually physically engaged. So education is a good option. So to the 5 of you that picked think three: resources, people, and education, you were close, but I want you to get beyond education, because we're also talking about things like micro volunteering. We're talking about things like mentoring. We're talking about things like community service. So the activities is just simply broader. But kudos to those of you who picked orient and onboard and open, because first of all, don't you just love 3Os? Come on, right? So congratulations for getting some really cool answers. If you were among the 7 who said think three: resources, people, and activities, put your name in the chat. And let me just see what we've got here. I'm super excited by all of this. Okay. Let me do a little calculation here. I'm going to pick somebody at random for something, and it could be to ask you a question to find out what you know. All right. So do me a favor right now. If you got all three right, let me give us a chat to put in the middle. All three right. Chime in now. If you got all three right, chime in now. I love all these people. Wow. All three right. We're going to pick from Nancy and Leanne and Catherine and Lisa and Renee and Maria. Who else? Laura and Linda and Janessa. Okay. Did anybody pick all three? Come on. Oh, Robin, you just joined. Well, guess the answers, and if you get it, we're going to give it to you. We'll catch you up. Don't worry. We'll catch you. No worries. No worries, Robin. We're just glad that you're here. All right. So I'm waiting to see if there's anybody else. All right. And the winner is, I've got the list of names in front of me, and I'm going to close my eyes and I'm going to point to one name, and that one name is Maria Cole. I don't know how to say your last name. Maria C. Maria C. Guess what you get? Do you want to know what you get? Maria C., we are going to give you a $25 gift card, a $25 gift card for your choice of Target, Amazon, or Starbucks. Target, Amazon, or Starbucks. Okay. Woohoo. Yes, I know. Now, don't worry if we didn't pick you. Guess what? I have a bunch of those to give away, and I'm going to give away the rest based on, I don't know, maybe you stump me with a great question. Maybe you share something in chat that helps somebody else. Maybe you give us a fun fact that we can use in our own chapters or constituent groups. Okay, so here's how we're going. We are going to give away prizes today, and we're going to give away answers, ideas, solutions, and just lots and lots of joy. Because you know what? We are all winners today. No complaints. So let's get started. What questions are on your mind? What questions are on your mind, guys? Throw a question out there for me and let me be able to give you some ideas and suggestions. So one of the questions, one of the questions is that should watch the one on content. It's all content is king, and just wondering how in the world though do I start? Like how do I figure out? And I'm putting a lot of words around her question, but how do I get started? So my suggestion is pull your board together on a fun Zoom like this and just ask them, what have you read recently related to the work that we're doing here? What have you read recently that caught your eye? And then just collect all of those different resources. And then go from there and say, okay, take a particular resource. Let's say it was something from the ADHA website, okay? You have the item from the ADH website. Then say, okay, how many of you read this? And figure it out. Maybe 2 of you have read it. And then say, okay, what was the aha for you? Get those 2 ahas. Now what you've got is, first of all, a list of things to check out if you're trying to build your professional acumen, or if you're interested in the latest and greatest. That becomes a content post for social media. And then the ahas also become a content post. So one way of getting started, as you're looking about how do you in the world create content on the fly, is just mind the conversations that you're having. So another way to do this is to ask your board members, start with them if that's the best way to do it. Ask a couple of members to send you an audio clip of something, something that's of interest to them, a tip maybe that they have, or a recent patient scenario, keeping privacy, of course, but a patient that came in and how you solved it, or maybe your favorite scrubs, and then use those audio clips to create content. So if you guys have additional content ideas, throw it in chat so we can build right here and now a resource list of great content. I love it. A question just came in about how do we get volunteers for our professional organization? Dear to my heart question. Thank you. A big shout out to Robin for asking that question. So where do we begin on this one? So first of all, let's go back, let's wind back and realize that people volunteer because they're asked, and it's not because there's this email or this open call. They volunteer because they had a personal ask. So one of the most important things to do is to really take the time to ask people to do stuff. The second thing I've noticed is that people want to help. There's just an inherent sense of how can I help get something done. But few people, you guys excluded, because we got some really incredible volunteers, but few people want to raise their hand to volunteer. So when you're asking that question to help, try thinking in terms of small or medium-sized things that you can ask, and avoid this work of, oh, well, we're looking for a membership chair, or we need more volunteers. That just feels like you're going to give me a lot of work. And if you say we need more volunteers, it means you don't have enough. So the best way to get volunteers is the personal ask. And within that personal ask, make it something that feels achievable, bite-sized, and easy. Now, that means what I'm suggesting is you're building your volunteer muscle. You're building that volunteer muscle really one connection point at a time. And that may seem, arduous, right? And it could feel a little bit arduous, but don't do that in isolation. Make sure that you've got on your website a call to get involved. And I like the word get involved way more than volunteers, because it usually percolates a question or a tell me more kind of thing. So make sure that's right. Now, I've been on a lot of your websites, and the problem is that's hidden. Make that something that's on your homepage, for example. And then if you take a look at our third webinar, we talk about a couple of tools about helping people make connections. One of them is to map out the organization The second one is to have a member profile. And the third one is a buddy onboarding program. If you take and activate the first two of those, you're helping people see how they can get involved deeply in the organization. And the third one of those, right, is an opportunity for you to take a seasoned volunteer, seasoned member, or a member who's experienced, been around, and pair them with a new volunteer, and they can embed in those conversations their enthusiasm for working with the organization. So those are a couple ideas. I see one idea, and maybe Leanne was thinking about this for the earlier question, but it really works here too, doesn't it, Leanne? One-on-one conversations. Once you get some traction, truthfully, once you get some traction and your pool begins to get a little bit bigger, it becomes overnight much larger. And yes, Renee, audio clips from a cell phone, absolutely. A great way for you to grab content, because people sometimes don't have the time to sit down and write long emails or write connections. Lots of really cool apps for those of you who got the who are getting, I should say, because I understand they're still in the mail, the prizes we gave out on webinar number 1. There's a couple of apps in there that help you take those audio clips and get transcriptions pretty easily. So what do you guys think? Are there any other hints for how to get volunteers for the professional organization? Let's light up this this chat a little bit more. Love to get some other ideas from you all. Okay, looking to see what other questions we have come in. Ooh, yeah, that's kind of a tough one. And we got another one coming in too. Oh, Catherine, as a kind of a follow-up to what we were talking about the volunteer, I totally love that. You have to know something about the potential volunteer's interest, and you have to ask them. You have to match that. Perfect. You must have been also reading our mind on the membership onboarding. I love it. Yes, Lori, how much fun you're having them. Tell them, have them feel FOMO. Absolutely. Janessa, this is a fun thing. You did a team building activity, a city hunt with the board, and you've gotten emails after seeing pictures. Wow, that is very, very cool. So we're going to have you share a little bit more about that, because it's a team building activity. And I'm wondering, I'm going to ask my awesome partners here, Kelsey, can we get people on audio if we want to get someone to share verbally a little bit more about what they're doing? Because I think the team building activity might be an interesting one for us to have a firsthand account on.
Janessa, if you raise your hand,
there we go.
Then you should come to the top, and then I can allow you to talk.
Yay!
There you go. Hey, Janessa.
Hello. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can. Awesome. So I just saw that and I'm like, okay, this looks like this could be a bright spot. And by the way, guys, a bright spot is when you see something another chapter is doing and it's giving them some success in one area, is for us to take a look at that and go, what makes that successful? So just real quickly, give us just sort of a little bit of the story behind this team building activity.
So we had a lot of new board members that had been kind of voluntold a little bit that they're in this spot now, which we're very good at doing as an association, I think.
Yeah.
And so I wanted to kind of break up some of the cliques that had already been there from members who have served several years, as well as bring the people in and make them feel welcomed, because then it reignites everybody's passion, and then that goes back to their local components. Right. So City Hunt is a company, they're all over the United States.
Oh, yes.
And they actually will give nonprofits a discount on their normal packages. And so they gave us a reduced fee, and they created the landing and the app for us. So we were split into teams, and then each team has a technology captain. And you're going all throughout the city trying to solve these trivia questions and post videos and things like that. And then whoever gets the most points by a certain amount of time, they win. Well, we've been taking these pictures from these different challenges, and I've been getting emails saying, you know, how do I get involved? What do I do? You don't just do meetings, because we're very good at posting, we're working for you, but it's usually a meeting, and nobody wants to sit in a meeting on their off time. So hopefully we can continue to grow in Texas, because we're Texas. So, and I think a lot of board members also got that fire reignited because we have new trustees now volunteering. So now there's kind of a battle of who's going to be trustee in certain areas.
Okay. So I love that. Let me ask you two questions. One is a real easy one. If someone wants to connect with you to get some more details, they can certainly reach out to you, correct?
Yes, of course.
Okay, excellent. And if you wouldn't, when you get a chance, put your email in the chat, just so folks can reach out to you. But the other question I want to ask you is, what did it take to get this set up? Because some folks, particularly if they're a smaller group, they might be going, I don't know if I have time for that. So I know City Hunt does like all of the planning and logistics, but from your perspective, in terms of what was the lift, and maybe you weren't the person, but whoever was the person who sort of orchestrated this, what was the lift?
So I actually did it as a surprise for the board. They knew we were going to do something, just not know. So I made them come with an open mind, and that's all I told them, and walking shoes.
Okay.
Which as hygienists, that's really difficult for us because we plan and we have to overanalyze everything. So I did that. And I'm also incredibly busy. It's legislative session for us in school, mom, all of that fun stuff.
Right.
And it took an email.
Okay. I love it.
I did an email on my lunch break, 2 seconds. That was it.
Excellent. So you have just, you've proven a couple things for us. You've proven that if it's fun, people will answer those emails, which goes back to that. They don't want a marketing email, right? Exactly. You've proven that if it's fun, people will remember it and continue to share it and thank you for it. And it does cost a little bit, yes, but if you can do it with an email, then it's well worth it. So thank you for jumping on. And of course, you get a $25 gift certificate to your choice of Target, Amazon, or Starbucks. So maybe for your next board team building. No, this money is for you.
Oh, it probably will go towards something for the board.
Okay, thanks so much. I'm looking at some other additional really cool things. Lisa's talking about recording virtual member meetups and sharing them with members afterwards. I totally love that, and it can be extremely inclusive. That is awesome. Lisa, add in the chat, like, where do you post them? Give us a little bit more. And then Peggy, who has a fabulous name, says that she hosted hygiene happy hours. Not many showed up besides the board, but each time at least one hygienist felt a connection and became a board member. Okay, Peggy, I want to applaud you, besides the fact that you have that wonderful name. Sometimes we judge success by the number of people in the room, and let's start judging success by the number of connections we make. The number of connections we make. And so you highlighted that. And happy hours, if we're at a big happy hour, we only connect with 3, 4, 5, 6 people anyway. So that's really going to be perfect. Okay, virtual paint parties as fundraisers. Totally love that. And Lisa's got a Monday member email we send every week. So we put the YouTube link in there. Okay, so Lisa, I need you to come on. So raise your hand. I want to ask you a couple quick questions about this. And let's get Lisa on. Okay. Woohoo. How are we doing? Okay, Lisa, do we have you on? There we go. Awesome. How are you doing today, Lisa?
Good.
Excellent. Okay. So there's a couple of things here that I would love for you to tell us a little bit about. Okay, so Yes, it's a virtual meeting, member meetup, and you're sharing with members. And you said, but I want to find out how this is connecting with your Monday member email. So just tell us a little bit more. Riff on this, please.
Yeah. So when COVID happened in the beginning, we started doing a lot of Zoom kind of meetups. We would do yoga. We would have lots of OSHA updates. We're really fortunate. We have a great just OSHA guru and CDC involved person and OSAP and everything in our state. So she was always researching and helping us stay on top of the changes that we were all going to anticipate when we went back to work. So we started doing that and just fun get-togethers. And sometimes it was just us board members that would get on, and then, you know, we would just connect and take a break from everything that was going on.
Mm-hmm.
So we maintained that. We were doing them at least once a week then. Then when everyone started going back to work, it got more challenging to get participation.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So right now we're doing twice a month on Tuesday nights. We do Zoom. And we're in Colorado, so our state's really big geographically.
Yes.
So it's a nice way, even though sometimes we only have a couple people that are there, it's a nice way to connect people, you know, near and far.
Right.
But occasionally we'll record what we're doing, especially if it's kind of informative. We just did a student ask me anything, and we recorded that. So they were asking us, you know, job questions and things to expect, and how do I stay on time when I get back to working, when I spend 4 hours on one patient right now.
Right.
So mostly lots of encouragement, like, don't worry, you can do it. We all did it. You'll be fine. Don't worry. So, but then we created this Monday member email. And mostly, like you said, it's mostly graphics of things that are coming up. If we have a board meeting coming up that people can join if they would like, if we have a book club or any of our membership meetups. Also, like if we have new policy, which we thankfully passed a few new sunsets in our state, patting ourselves on the back with that. And then also like anything COVID related and things like that. So our Monday member emails, we've had pretty good success with. And we do use, not SurveyMonkey, what? MailChimp.
MailChimp.
Okay. And which is nice because we can see how many emails are opened.
Right.
Right. And we usually get in, you know, a couple hundred people that open them, which is
that's
pretty
good.
Like, yeah. So that's been really helpful. But when we do record any of our member meetups over Zoom or informative things, then we include the link in our our Monday emails. And we have learned through trial and error that with our emails, if we feel like we're putting something in the email too many times in a row, we're actually not putting it in enough.
Oh, interesting.
Like you'd have to do repetition. Like if you think somebody's going to get the information one time because you put it out there once, it'll get missed. So that's just been trial and error that we found that we feel like we're just like a broken record a lot of times, but that's whenever we have the most success with something that we're working on.
Yeah. So the interesting thing is you can repeat the content, change the subject line, right? I mean, that's what we found here is as long as we change the subject line, people will read it again because just for that reason, they might miss it the first time. So awesome. Thank you so much for jumping in, raising your hand, and you let us know which of the $25 gift certificates you want.
Oh, probably Target.
Awesome. So my fearless partners will get that taken care of. Excellent.
Okay.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you. I'm loving a couple of things I'm seeing here. Lori, sounds like you are doing some super cool things. Lori, let's have you come on next. And let me ask, I'm going to ask this question about, you say 8, 12, and 4. So again, a lot of volunteers to the state from these meetups. So I want to find out how you're tying this into getting volunteers. So come on up, Lori. That means you're going to raise your hand so we can find you. There we go. And this is your opportunity to be there. I have to say, guys, this is like a little aside here. You all have fabulous pictures on your Zoom video feed. So I'm really liking this. I'm liking being able to see the personality. That is so critical. Okay, Lori, that was my way of making sure that you were here and unmuted so I could ask you. So what caught my eye, and guys, if something catches your eye, ask in chat, okay? What caught my eye was different topics each meeting. And then you said 8, 12, and 4. We gained a lot of volunteers to the state from those meetups. So talk to me a little bit about this ability to gain volunteers from the meetups, because that was one of the questions we just had. And then if you don't mind, clarify the 8, 12, and 4.
Yeah, so our president at the time, Jennifer, amazingly, she dedicated herself 3 times a day to opening meetings. And, you know, mornings were our coffee chats. She called them really fun things like Central Insiders and stuff like that, but insiders, sorry. And during these chats, like the morning chats were, you know, kind of a debrief, a relax, what are you going to do with your day kind of thing. Our noons, and that was around 8 a.m. And this was during the time when Washington had, and most states had shut down their offices. So hygienists didn't really have much to do at the time. And then at noon, we held free CE, and we had a lot of people offer free CE and a lot of attendance there. And then on our 4 p.m., it was a lot of more of a happy hour. Fridays were definitely a happy hour, but we chatted about different things like favorite vacations, or, you know, if something new came out from ADHA or different organizations and associations, we just chatted about, you know, what does that mean for our state? And we kept everybody updated. A lot of people would join these meetings, and we promoted on social media because of the topic, or they had questions, and Jennifer did great at staying up to date on all of it. So she was able to answer all those questions, especially, you know, unemployment issues, or OSHA or WISHA in our state. And through that, we gained a lot of people who joined. Like maybe they joined every 8 a.m. and a lot of them were on 4 p.m. I think we probably had a good, probably less than 20, for about 20 people that were consistent at all these meetings. And some of them were people that we knew them, but they weren't very much involved until, you know, after COVID. And now we have, you know, we've figured out, you know, like, oh, you would be great on this committee. You know, how do you feel? We built that relationship with them. And we have I want to say probably a quarter of them right now on our, you know, co-chairs and familiarized with the board and stuff. That's been helping us out, like with our mentor program. And then we have probably another quarter of them that are always there for something. They want to be involved, but they want to do little tasks.
Right.
So it was really great at opening up those conversations and getting them involved, but that wasn't our intent per se, but it really worked in our favor in a way that we weren't expecting.
Right. So what I love about that is sometimes we do something just to, you know, to give back to the members, and we wind up with really cool unintentional unintentional I can't even speak today. It's late, you know what I'm saying? No.
Right.
Unintentional consequences. There we go. In this case, it's volunteers. But I want to ask you a question, and I don't want to put you on the spots, but sure. I'm curious. Many of us have these events, and many of us in this past year have not only had the event and seen new people, but we haven't, I'm going to call it, close the sale. So is there anything that you guys intentionally did as you began seeing these folks that helped you really pull people in? So just give us a sense of how you turned these attendees into people who would be a co-chair, for example.
Well, I think a lot of it was just being there for them and hearing them. And even if it wasn't, you know, member, because Peggy had asked in the chat, was it member only? It wasn't. We offered this to everybody. And it was being there, hearing them out and helping them with solutions to problems that they didn't know that we could help them with. And they were like, oh, that's great. And, Jennifer and a few other people had gone out of their way to, help them with, retirement issues or office issues. Maybe their dentist wasn't partaking in all the new rules and regulations. And, that's the only thing that stands out to me that would have made a difference than what we've always done that, but we've offered that opportunity more consistently. And we just opened it up and said, join if you can. And so it wasn't like, join now or don't get it at all kind of thing. It was just, we're here every day at 8, every day at noon, every day at 4 for this. So it was a lot more opportunity for them to take part, and being that it was members and non-members and ask me anything, kind of, what they had mentioned before, all of that linked together. I think that's really what stood out.
Okay. So let me ask this next question. So I totally loved, was this, you ran this for, it says for months, but how, 3 times a day is a lot. So how long have you done this?
Well, we did it starting in, I believe Jennifer opened it up in March, April, and we ran through the summer as much as I can remember. And then I want to say, I think it was about 3 months. I want to say we ran through the summer. And then recently, because it had been a year since our first one, we had done a welcome back, here's this, this is when we started it. And, we've learned so much from these, and she hosted some really fun, a year later, what's new kind of thing. And it was just really informational to a lot of people. And to also see, the members and non-members were seeing, they aren't the only ones in that situation. So they were saying, what's everyone else feeling? So they weren't feeling alone.
So what would you say? Someone's asked the question, were all these meetings Zoom invites? So answer that question first.
Yeah, so they were all Zoom invites. We created these, repetitive on Zoom 3 times a day. And they were register only. So you did have to register so we could allow them in, because at the time Zoom was kind of new and strange things were happening. So we had to have people register. And then we would just allow them in if we saw their name on the list. If we saw a random number, we would let them in, ask them to identify themselves, and then move forward.
So how many people did it take for you guys to do this? Who was responsible for helping and making sure this worked?
Jennifer Zabarchuk was our president at the time, and she was actually president for 2 years. So she ran into a lot of fun things during her presidency, but she was the main person on this, and she opened them up 3 times a day. And then she had reached out to people, can you take a, dedicated times and days? So she reached out to me, and I ran Wednesdays, and we did yoga on Wednesdays in the morning, said what we were going to do today. At the time, it was fun because it wasn't crazy busy. It was like, oh, I'm going to garden or I'm going to cook or something. And then, she found other people for Thursday mornings or Thursday afternoons. She did ask a lot of board members, but some of them weren't board members either. They were just there to run the meeting. And if they just picked one time of day for an hour to do it, then that was all theirs.
Excellent.
And
Very
we posted
cool.
on Facebook a lot.
Yeah, it takes a lot, but what I think is, if any of you are listening to this and thinking, oh my gosh, how can I do that? Well, first of all, hear what Lori is saying about the fact that it does become a door for getting more volunteers, and it becomes a door for additional volunteer engagement. But also, you can just do this for a month, or just do this for the first week of every month. There's so many variations on the theme to fit the resources that you have. But this notion of being available, letting people log in at what's convenient, and getting more people involved in the conversation is great. Lori, you pick Amazon, Target, or Starbucks.
Thank you.
And thank you for being really great sharing on here. This is awesome.
Yeah.
Oh, before you go back, hang on a second. Before you go, Renee's asking a very good question. Thank you, Renee. Do you see this being successful now that everyone is back at work?
Yeah, and I was just going to answer that. So
Okay.
Renee, when we did that year later thing, I'd have to confirm with Jennifer. I know she's on the call. She can put it in the chat. I think the 8 a.m. wasn't, it was attended, but not maybe as much, of course, because people are back at work. Our evening one was probably a little bit better in attendance, but, we, just like everyone, are on Zoom meetings all the time now. So I do see it being successful, if we were to do, most people are off, by 6 maybe, and just staying consistent and opening it for, even a small amount of time. Maybe you do a 7 p.m. every night for a half hour just to, what's going on now, or talk about one thing, maybe protocol in the office, or maybe you talk about anything specific. You just put a topic on it, have someone to run it so it can kind of stay on par. I still think it would be very successful. We don't see weekends being as successful because people want that break now. So it's usually evenings during the weekday.
Okay, excellent. And guys, one of the things that I want to lift up that Lori just said was this notion of, don't think of this as an hour. I mean, 30 minutes is fine. Just allow it to be, just allow it to be an opportunity. Oh, yes, great. And Jennifer has helped to answer that rest of that question. So awesome, awesome. So Renee was wondering, and I'll go ahead and let the rest of this conversation go, continue in chat. So I'm going to ask either Lori or Jennifer to share back to Renee. Did you just share the link to social media or email the list of members? In other words, they're just looking for how members learned about this. So we'll answer that, Renee. We'll get that to you in chat. Excellent. Thank you. Thank you. It was both. Okay, there you go. Awesome. I love easy answers. It was both, Renee. So pretty cool. So one thing I'm going to suggest is we've heard a couple of, so we've heard really a couple of really cool examples here. And thank you for the folks for sharing that. Here's the deal. You guys are peers, so reach out and get more information or intel from each other, and consider joining each other's email lists so that you see some of these things as they're evolving and as they're in their evolution and their in their genesis, even for that matter. So great. So yes, state Zoom account that, states can really support all of the chapters and all of the members by just investing in what is not really expensive by all of these things. Excellent, excellent. All right, guys, any other questions that you have? What other questions are on your mind? Or if you've got another brag, we always love the brags. Anybody coming in here? I'm going to give you a hint that I do have another gift certificate or two, I believe. So keep coming. Are we giving too much to non-members? So, okay, Peggy, I love that question. And there isn't a single answer to it. I think that first of all, I want to reflect on the fact that we're in a very strange time, and we're still we're still recovering. Many of us are still recovering. And so dollars and cents can be tight. And so it's a balancing act to be willing to give to keep people in the community. So I think that what we're seeing more and more, particularly right now, is that if we're talking about content sharing and getting people to meet each other, giving it away is certainly something that I think is well within most of our bandwidth. It's when someone, a non-member, says, well, I want to be part of the let's say the mentoring program, or I need you to hold my hand on something, that we then begin to say, okay, we would really love to do that. I've got a couple of members in front of you for that service. So let me get back to you, or if you join, we'll get you right up there. So I think that one of the things to think about is, if you feel like you have gone over the edge and giving away too much, then trust your gut. But if you feel that, okay, I'm not sure, then also trust that gut. And okay, and I know that really, quite frankly, that's kind of a non-answer. But what we have seen in membership is that people join because they see the community, and we have got to give them a taste of that community. So I think people expect Facebook groups to be largely open and available. I think that if we are open, and as I said, you just don't give away the stuff where it's really one-on-one personal hand-holding. So, okay, I love this question, Renee. I love this. How to avoid burnout and frustration for the few motivated line officers that are launching all these efforts. What are you guys doing for self-care, please? How do you keep your batteries charged? Wow. I totally love all of this information. And I also see a question. They said, well, so we should give it all away? No, no, no. I don't want you to give it all away. I think if Facebook is open and there's content to be shared to make sure dental hygienists are safe, absolutely. But as I said, as soon as we're really starting to help an individual specifically and create this connection, then say members first. Okay. So the question on the table is, what are you guys doing for self-care, please? So light up the chat. How are you taking care of your own self as a volunteer? How are you helping your volunteers take care of themselves? I totally love the conversation that we were having a few moments ago about the city hunt, because that was a surprise. That was self-care, right? So, but let's light it up. Anybody have any suggestions for Renee in terms of avoiding the burnout and frustration? So while you are getting ready to put that in chat, let me offer a couple of observations. First of all, you can members only free CE. Yes, Robin, that is a perfect example of how we draw the line. If it's free CE, let it be members only. That's the true benefit, right? That's the example, Robin's. Yes, thank you. One of the things that makes us as frontline officers be really burned out is we're trying to do too much in terms of thinking that we have to do a whole lot for the members, the chapters, the constituents. We think that 2 really important things isn't enough. No, we got to offer 10. We work really hard and we bring 5 people on a happy hour, and we think, okay, well, now we've got to do more to get more people on that happy hour. Here's the deal. Less is more. So one of the self-care things you can do with your board is to say, what are the 2 or 3 most important things that we need to do for our members, and focus on that. Don't try to be everything. And in these webinars, we give you lots of ideas. So like, for example, one of the webinars was all about all the content. And one of the things I talked about was an example from one association, and they really streamlined it. They said, let's figure out, if we have a piece of content, how many different ways we can use it, not how many different pieces of content we have to have. So that's my mantra to you is less is more. Oh, I love that. Someone is suggesting that maybe one of the ways to do this is to take a look at quarterly chats with component presidents, so that you guys can brainstorm and lift each other up, just to be able to talk about what's going on, just to, a nice free space. Like we're hoping that this is a kind of a free space, is allowing us to chat and really celebrate some of the things you guys have already done. So I think that's pretty cool. Love Leanne's idea of sending a birthday card to members. That really lifts everybody up. And it's something that can actually be done. So that's an easy way to do it. And Leanne, I love getting a birthday card. And so I am nominating you right now for a Target, Amazon, or Starbucks card for coming up with sending a birthday card to members. So Leanne, you get to pick which one you want. Awesome. Awesome. The conversation around free CE for I always told you that if they're audited, some of those credits, they may not count. Oh, okay. So that's a longer conversation, a longer comment from Ramunda about that the notion of making sure that you take CE through component state or ADHA to be guaranteed the credits count towards being pre-approved. I love that subtle nudge or urging, like, yeah, you can get any of this free CE anywhere, but the CE we're giving you, which may cost you a little bit if you're a non-member, or even if you are a member, is stuff that you can, quote unquote, go to the bank. You see, that's the differentiation that gets people to pay our dues, is showing them that kind of value. Thank you, Ramunda, for bringing that up. That's really important. And you get a gift card. This is the kind of advice and recommendations we can take home. So go ahead, Ramunda, let's go ahead and give you a gift card, Amazon, Target, or Starbucks. So tell us which one you want. See, guys, we are so excited about what you do, and we're already at 9:02. So I got to pull the plug on this conversation. What I really absolutely love is the energy you guys have and you bring to this. And as far as I'm concerned, you all are rock stars. And that's, rock stars are, I don't know, what can we say? What can we say? You're making a difference. You're making a difference for dental hygienists. And you know who else you're making a difference for? You're making a difference for people like me who go to dental hygienists who are excited. And mine is a member of Maryland. You're going to, you're making my visit all that much better. So absolutely love it, love it, love it. And Lisa, you just gave a great idea about group text. I so totally love this idea of leaning on each other, venting. I think that is really cool. Let's see. I think we are at a space where I absolutely totally need to let you guys go. It's 9:03, but I think I had like 2 more gift cards to give away. So this is what I'm going to do for the 2 gift cards. As you are signing off, give me one aha from this series, and we are going to pick 2 additional lucky winners afterwards to get a gift card of their choice. So I really, really, really want to see, what are those ahas? Get it in there. Group me from Jessica. I love that. I love that. What else did we got? Yes, Powerhouse. Love the birthday cards. Love doing that. Great, Nancy. Love that idea. Love the student Ask Anything session. Thank you, Jennifer, for bringing that up. Videos. And of course, my fellow kindred spirit from Maryland, Shakir, I can't even say your name. I love your name, though. Learned ways to engage members. Totally love that. Thanks, Lorraine. Thanks, Linda. Okay, anybody else? Members join for the community. Absolutely. Absolutely. Yes, our virtual paint party. I want to go to that too. Members want to be included and help. Avoid the volunteer word. Thank you for all your great ideas. Oh, folks, we're going to pull from 2. We're going to pull 2 of our names from those of you who did this. You're going to get a lucky gift card. And thank you. Thank you for joining us. It's been a pleasure chatting with you.